CMCSS School Board Study Session. Tonight, first on our agenda is public participation. We have no one request to address the board tonight. So we'll move on to item number 2, surplus property, Northwest High School, baseball jerseys.
Yes, so Northeast High School has 59 old baseball jerseys that are more than 5 years old that do not have adequate quantities of the sizes and conditions that they need to dress the entire team. The request has been made to surplus those and sell the old jerseys to offset the cost of some baseball operations of the program. We are recommending to the school board that these be declared surplus and Northeast be allowed to sell those items and given the proceeds to the baseball team.
Any questions on that from board members? Next item, surplus property, Montgomery Central High School, softball, three-wheeler.
Yes, so Montgomery Central High School had a three-wheeler donated to their softball program many years ago. That is not in adequate working condition, and we are recommending they be allowed to sell this softball three-wheeler with the proceeds given to the softball program as was originally intended with the donation.
Seeing no questions about that. Next item, textbook adoption certification, first reading.
Yes, as you know, we have been in the process of looking at math textbooks. We have had several meetings and allowed open community viewing of the materials, and this is just the first read on that textbook adoption certification. Dr. Shanda Dowdy is here if you have any additional questions about the textbook adoption.
Board members have questions?
How many different math books did you all look at, Shannon?
It was different across each level, and it varied between 7 books in high school to around 13 in elementary.
Okay. And what was the winning factor for McGraw-Hill? I see you considered McGraw-Hill as the choice for K-8.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. The big pieces of the McGraw-Hill that were winning factors, one was the alignment to the standards, the availability for accommodations for kids across all levels and abilities, and the resources that were available for our teachers for them to be able to differentiate instruction.
That was the next question. Also, will we have the technology piece where they have the lessons online and children can go back and tutor themselves?
Yes, ma'am. All of these have a digital access component.
Does that mean we're gonna have physical books?
We are gonna have physical books, but part of our contract will include a digital access component as well.
Will the students be able to take those books home?
Our hope is that we will be able to fund one book for every child, yes, ma'am.
So they'll be going to the books instead of the computer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When do we do the books that a lot of people, they're controversial sometimes, and they say that there's subject in there that shouldn't be, in particular books that we've accepted. Of course, I know they're gone through and thrown out if they're not accepted, but do we have a timeline on that, or a certain part of the year that we look at those type of books?
I'm not sure I completely understand the question, but in regards to these books, they were first approved by the state. And then we actually created a website for our community members to be able to give us feedback on them. We invited teachers in, parents and community members to preview them. And so there was no negative feedback about any of these books.
I'm sorry, I was talking about the reading material. You know, we hear things sometimes, you know, sexual orientation, things of that nature that some people, you know, that do not accept it. And I may be off base here, I just didn't know if and when we attack those.
So these are the math adoption textbooks. So the reading textbook, very similar. We actually had that adoption process just a couple of years ago. And so that gets vetted, and so it has to get on an approved state list before we're allowed to have those as appropriate materials.
So was McGraw-Hill, cheaper, about the same as the other publishers, or more expensive?
They were all within about $20 of each other per student, so really that wasn't even something that we had to necessarily factor in, because the prices were so close together, from about $117 to $150. So the books we picked are from $127 to $150.
No, I actually know a parent that was on this committee, and they said that this was a great process, so.
Awesome, thank you for that feedback. We worked hard to try to make it where everybody who wanted to review them could. Of course, not everybody's gonna line up to review math textbooks.
Any other questions, board members? Thank you very much. Next item, number 5, strategic work for 23-24.
Yes, and board members, you have in front of you the draft of the 23-24 strategic work. Even though we have 4 months remain in this school year, we're excited to give you a quick preview of next year's strategic work overview as we prepare to enter budget conversations in the coming weeks. We want to make sure that our budget priorities are aligning with our strategic work. So in front of you are 12 strategic work goals that we plan to focus on in the 23-24 school year. As you know, these do not reflect all the work of the students, staff, and administrators over the next year, but rather these are system-wide and sometimes community-wide priorities and efforts to continue improving CMCSS and our mission to educate and empower students to reach their potential. So as you have heard in our last meeting, there are numerous data points and other inputs that will be evaluated by our leadership to prioritize these strategic work efforts. Stakeholder feedback from surveys, focus groups, and monthly communication groups. So as we look to fine-tune these, we will include student achievement data, add in more detail with key performance indicators, consider federal and state legislative changes, and any other inputs that are data-driven decisions regarding the district schools. So tonight, I just wanted to make sure that you each had an overview of what we're looking at. Beginning in July, as we enter the new fiscal year, you will hear more monthly updates of each of these goals at the board meetings. And our communications department will begin working on the graphics and videos to make sure that these are added in our communications and our calendars for next year.
Thank you. Number 6, county commissioners, any comments? Other business? Any other business? Any board members, any other business to discuss?
I just want to say, I've been talking to Dr. Vetter and letting just want the board know, there's been questions about certain books that have come up, and we've had some books through from schools. And right now, our policy that the district wrote currently doesn't automatically trigger those books to come out of other schools, even though they do recommend. So through our conversations, they're going to be in the SLT meeting on Monday, having those conversations to further that. So I want the board to know that I think it's good that if a book's removed from one school, there's another mechanism then for it to be removed from all the schools. So right now it's a recommendation, but wanting to make that more strong language.
Any other board members? Meeting's adjourned.